Welcome to another episode of Chris McDaniel's America here on the Midnight Ride Network. You know what that is. It's your home of the anti-establishment movement in this country. So much to talk about. I mean, it hasn't been a super hot news cycle on one particular issue, a bunch of issues. And I think if you see the caption, you see some of the things we'll discuss. With me, as always today, Jack Fairchilds. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those shows, and I will apologize ahead of time if it appears like we're rambling more than usual. I don't think that's the case, but it could be later in the show as we talk about just how crazy things are becoming. And it's not just with the policies and the subpoenas in the Epstein case, and it's not just with Washington, D.C., it's just with politicians in general. Can we all agree, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, can we at least all agree on one thing, and that is we are all sick of American politicians?
I can agree to that.
I mean, my goodness, it doesn't matter what party you're for. At this rate, it seems they're all just guilty of the same complicity of using their office to get special perks, their offices to be corrupt, their offices to cut backroom deals. You know, I've heard it been said that the political system of this country, the parties, are just two wings of the same bird. I don't know if that's true. You know, right wing, left wing, still both helping to fly this corrupt government around, but sometimes it certainly seems like it is. We'll get to that in a second. But speaking first of the swamp, there are swamps in every state capital. There's certainly a swamp in Washington, D.C. And believe it or not, they're really interconnected. We, over the last few days here in Mississippi, have had a couple of special elections with Senate districts around the state. And the good news is, for the most part, the swamp wasn't very successful in those elections. Now, there's been a big discussion as to what that really means. Is that a sign of some positive conservative resurgence in the future, or was that limited to some geographical oddities in the state of Mississippi? Was it all politics is local, or could it be that maybe people are beginning to wake up? That's really the big question, because here in Jones County, where we're from, we saw an incumbent defeated pretty handily, and I want to talk about that in detail in just a moment. And in DeSoto County, we saw a candidate, Mike McClendon, who happens to be an incumbent, but he's an anti-swamp incumbent, an anti-establishment incumbent, and they hate him for it. And so up there, they got a bunch of mayors together and a bunch of politicos together, and even some statewides that got involved with money, and they helped McClendon's challenger, and they all got embarrassed. McClendon, using just good old campaign tactics and the will of the good people of DeSoto County, managed to win convincingly. That's a good sign. We'll get to that as well. But first, the race here in Jones County. The race was really something you and I discussed last week, and those two races are the only two races that this show had any input in whatsoever. And I do believe we had some ability to influence those races based on the reach of the show and based on some of the politics that were being driven by the electorate. Here in Jones County, we had a situation where the sitting incumbent, her name is Robin Robinson, a nice lady by all accounts, basically entered into a backroom deal with Delbert Hosemann, the current lieutenant governor of Mississippi, to redraw the districts in Jones County, part of which included my house, and was part of the reason that I was so, I won't say angry, but really disturbed by the backroom deal that I saw cut, because it was aimed at me. It was targeted at me. You know, if you think about, take a look at that map in District 34, in District 42, how they converge, and you watch District 34 bend down to my hometown, literally reach across the street, grab my house, pull it out of the district I represented for 16 years, where literally I can walk across the street and be in a different district. That was politically designed to end my career.
Yeah, it's basically a circle.
Yeah, we just came down, circled the house, left. Well, Delbert Hosemann was responsible for that. We all know that. But the senator here at the time joined him. Now, I'm not sure about her knowledge specifically. I think she probably knew. I don't know how you couldn't know when you see this bubble emerge in Ellisville come around my house. But there was a connection there. And that infuriated people here. It wasn't just me. It was the idea that people would use a backroom deal to literally eliminate potential. It wasn't going to happen. I wasn't going to run. I had no intentions of ever running. Potential conservative challengers. Who does that? Our party claims it's a party of conservatives. They all run as conservatives, but then they get the chance to eliminate a conservative, and they do everything in their power with backroom deals to do just that. So it was frustrating from that perspective. Now, I don't want folks to think that that means that Robin is a bad person. She's not a bad person. Mm-hmm. She made a bad political decision. And I hope people understand that. I don't know where we got caught up in this world where we automatically have to hate or dislike the other individual simply because they're running against our candidate.
Yeah.
You don't have to. You can vote against somebody without having a visceral dislike of that person.
Agreed.
But here, American politics has gotten really weird lately. It seems like we pick sides and we're supposed to automatically just hate the other side.
Yeah, I mean, it's out of hand, and there's a lot of it's social media driven.
It is, but it feels weird because I don't hate anybody. I'm not holding grudges. I just know that politics, that is, the decisions we make as senators, bad votes matter. Bad votes matter. And when you cast a bad vote, that's fair game. Mm-hmm. It's fair game because your job, here's the thing, your job isn't to go up there and get projects for your district.
No.
They say it is, that's not the case. Your job is not to go up there and even write legislation. It's to vote. It's to cast votes and speak on behalf of the people of your district. And so these bad votes are fair game. That was pointed out. It doesn't mean there was anything personal between Don Hartness and Robin Robinson or between us and Robin Robinson. Like I said, she's done a lot of good things. A lot of good things in this community. But that was just a really bad vote. And it wasn't just a vote. It was the joining of hands between she and Delbert Hosemann. Mm-hmm. Delbert Hosemann may not realize this yet, but his chances to be governor are all but over now.
Thank God.
You know, well, you think about it, that's a heck of a thing to lose that big in two Republican counties the way he lost last week. Mm-hmm. That's a big deal. Yep. The press isn't talking about it yet, but those were his chosen candidates.
Yeah.
They got annihilated.
And the press doesn't want to talk about it because Delbert's their chosen candidate too.
But I'm going to tell you something. If that's a sign of things to come, the idea that he's going to somehow ascend to the governor's mansion is unrealistic at this stage. One more thing. DeSoto County, and I will move on to something else. Mm-hmm. Because I've got a fight on Facebook right now between every liberal in the country and us talking about why Mississippi could be poor. They blame it on the red states or the red politicians. It's not. We'll get to that. You little socialist, you can't create history. Not here. We know our history here. Going back to DeSoto County just for a split second. You know, it's funny. They literally went up there and hand-selected a guy to beat Mike McClendon.
Yep.
I mean, the establishment went up there and literally grabbed this guy, funded him, created a super PAC for him. Even some statewides gave him money. Yep. All the mayors in DeSoto endorsed him. I want to talk about that too. Mm-hmm. I'm not against mayors. God, no, we need our mayors. But the mayors are always going to endorse the swamp. Yeah. Always, because they're too busy brown-nosing the swamp.
They want that check from
They want that money. So don't look at a mayoral endorsement as anything other than I'm sucking up to the swamp. That's all they ever do. It's not that they think one candidate is better than the other. They're trying to get free money. Mm-hmm. And so it makes every endorsement of a mayor somewhat suspect in my mind. Always has.
I'm suspect of most politician endorsements anyway.
Well, you should be. But get this. So they all come out and endorse Mike McClendon's opponent. Mm-hmm. And then Mike McClendon just wipes the floor.
Yeah, it wasn't close.
It wasn't even close. And there's something about that was incredibly liberating because it goes to show that in the heart of conservative voters, whether you're in DeSoto or Jones, wherever the case may be, they were able to peel through all the layers of nonsense and get right to the heart of what's happening here. And they rejected the establishment. They rejected the swamp. That is the story from last week. Now we've got to see if we can figure out how to keep it going because voters have short memories. And these people running for office have big campaign finance. What do you call that?
War chest.
I call it war chest. That's a good answer. They have these war chests, and so they're able to fool people. Mm-hmm. Our job is to remind who is on our side and who is not on our side. And we'll do that. Campaign finance reports will show that, and past endorsements will show that. And hopefully, Mike McClendon, hopefully, Don Hartness and others will have the guts to speak out about who came out against them.
Yeah, keep the receipts.
Keep the receipts, absolutely. A couple of things. I said earlier we were having a fight on Facebook. And that shouldn't be, you know.
So it's just another day.
Yeah, this page is red hot. Has been for some time. It's got about 310 or so thousand followers. But what happens is millions and millions come by. And so you can bet out of those millions, there's a large percentage that just don't like me very much, which is fine. We talked about that earlier. I'm a Republican. I'm a conservative. They hate me because of that. I don't know why. They've never met me. We've never had a conversation. But, you know, he likes orange man bad. He's bad. That's all I'm hearing, right? He likes Trump, so he's a bad guy.
You know, I mean, nowadays that does make you a bad guy.
Well, here's the thing, though. That takes a heavy lift there, doesn't it? The liberals always pride themselves on being intellectuals, but they're the most knee-jerked anti-intellectuals I've seen online. Now, with that said, here's what happens. It seems like 35 times a week now. So I post something about Mississippi, or I post something about red politics, and here's the post I get. Mississippi is poor, Chris. It's last in everything. It's last in education. It's last in health care. And it's last in per capita income. You name it, Mississippi's dead last, and that's because of you Republicans. Is it?
Something tells me you're going to say it's not.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, I'm not saying it's not. History dictates that. The numbers don't lie. So when you knuckleheads swing in from Massachusetts and when you swing in from California and you think you've got this all figured out, and I realize you're fairly simplistic people, you liberals. You're fairly simplistic. It's like 1 + 2 = 6 with you sometimes. Bottom line is you believe that you know everything about Mississippi, and because the Republicans have control here, we created this terrible economic conditions of this state and all throughout the South. Here's what you don't understand. For 140 years, it was Democrats that controlled this state. 140 years. From the end of Reconstruction until just recently. In fact, you may not know this, I wouldn't expect that you would, but the House and the Senate in Mississippi, that is our legislature, was completely controlled by Democrats until 2012. You didn't know that. So 140 years, your party controlled our state. 140 years, your party passed bad economic policies to keep this state down. And now, because we've had control for 14 years, you think everything should be turned around. It takes time to fix a century of Democrat stupidity. That's what we're trying to do. Now, common response to that argument is, well, didn't you hear of the party switch, and don't you know that those Democrats became Republicans? Stop. Full stop. That's not necessarily accurate, because those Democrats were New Deal Democrats. Those Democrats from the 1930s all the way to 2012 were big government, protectionist, high tax, FDR-loving fiscal liberals. It's the same Democrat policies you propose now. You see, we're last because those policies never changed. Okay, I'll give you an example. Alabama has a song years ago, nobody's heard it. It's called Song of the South. And it talks about how Mr. Roosevelt's going to save us all. Mm-hmm. They said the South's politicians fell trap to that. And all of a sudden, we were all big government Democrats down here. By the way, hear those words, big government. The problem is always big government. It always has been big government. So Mississippi had these knucklehead politicians, and they behaved in ways that were unforgivable. What do? Protectionism, to protect their buddies in industry. High taxes, praise of the federal government, and bigger centralization. What'd they do? They begged for federal dollars, but did nothing to encourage a workforce in this state or to encourage private industry and productivity in this state. It was an embrace of big government nonsense that got us where we are. And then you say, but what about Jim Crow? Let's talk about Jim Crow. Let's talk about that, because Jim Crow has a lot more in common with what you believe than what we believe. And the Democrats say, well, how can that be? That makes no sense because it's all about race. No, it's about government control. Jim Crow was an abuse of government, wasn't it? The difference is you abuse it now just differently. You want what? You want control. Let's think about this. I'm going to give you 4 categories and let's work through this together. In both eras, that is your modern era and the Jim Crow old Democrat era, it was all about this: power was centralized, right? It was centralized in the political elite. Number two, dependency was cultivated rather than independence. Number three, opposition was silenced through systemic barriers. And communities were controlled through policy design, not liberated by it. It was government. It was the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. An abusive Southern government kept people down, kept them isolated, controlled the economic system, and so Mississippi and the other states never had a chance to advance economically. It's the same nasty policies then that you're trying to propose now. You've just changed the color scheme. That's all you've done. Here's what I would advance to you, what I would propose to you. Instead of going back to those same old regulatory policies that you've seen fail in every place they've been tried, how about give liberty a chance? How about you quit trying to control our kids? How about you quit taking the fruits of our labor? How about you think through this naturally and normally and let Mississippi figure out how the free market can actually be productive? The second problem we've got in this state, those knucklehead Democrats, when they did switch parties, they didn't switch their ideology.
Not at all.
So we're still fighting these people. We're still fighting these people. They fight against school choice. They fight for higher taxes. They fight for more protectionism with their buddies in industry. They fight for the lobbying class. You see, they switched from D to R. But they didn't change anything about the way they governed, and they're still very much entrenched in our system. Mm-hmm. You think Delbert Hosemann is more like Barry Goldwater or Barack Obama? Come on now. Come on. What about that Senate I've served with, half those Republicans up there? Give me a break. They don't have a principled philosophical bone in their body. They'll do whatever they're told. Mm-hmm. Men-child, big babies, whatever Uncle Delbert, no, Daddy Delbert tells you, you're going to do, aren't you? Because your committee assignment might be in check. But the bottom line here, you won't change because you don't have the guts to change. And that's where we are. And so you wonder why it is that we're still last in everything. It takes time to rid ourselves of economic regulation passed by Democrats and continued now by party switchers that have gotten in our way. And that's true for all these states they attack, every single one. So when you come to the page, at least come to the page with some degree of knowledge. Don't just talk about party switching when you have no idea what you're talking about. Because party switchers can maintain the same ideology just by changing the name or the R or the D behind their name.
Absolutely. We've seen this epidemic for a while in politics, especially in our state. You know, you saw a ton of folks switch over to the Republican Party when Barack Obama got voted in, but they didn't change to a conservative. They were still liberals. They just realized that in our state, and I'm sure other red states, that Barack Obama had made being a Democrat, it made it harder for you to win an election. So then you just change your party affiliation, and by doing that, you're able to just walk right back in. But meanwhile, you're still up there voting like a Democrat, pushing liberal Democrat policies, but now you're doing it with that big R behind your name. And one of the things that always has frustrated me, Chris, and maybe you can give some insight, why doesn't the party ever call out people that go against its alleged platform?
Well, most reasonable parties would. Mm-hmm. Let's not kid ourselves. If you talk about why parties exist in the first place, it should be to advance shared viewpoints. But no, not us. You want to change the letter behind your name, we'll hold a press conference for you like we won the Super Bowl. Meanwhile, you're watering down the whole point of the party process in the first place. And it goes back to don't get me started. There's a lot of weak people in the Republican Party, a lot of weak people, and they're more concerned about playing games and maintaining their checks than they are just making sure that principles and tough votes are made, whereby our principles are advocated and advanced. When I was up there 16 years, the Republican Party never really got involved much in votes. Darnest thing I've ever seen. You got a party sitting over there with a headquarters not 3 blocks from the Capitol, but nobody wanted to show up and push members to vote one way or the other. They were scared to. They were more concerned about numbers than they were just policy.
Bingo.
Right? And that's why we're still stuck exactly where we are. And we'll stay stuck there until we start electing people with backbone. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. I noticed the other day after the swamp took those two black guys. Mm-hmm. By the way, I want to get back to Jim Crow because there's so much reverse. Hold on, what? I can't go yet. Let me just share something with you liberals you may not have understood yet. That human nature, by design, it seems, almost by birth, it seems, is self-interested. Human nature can be greedy. Human nature can be jealous. It can be ambitious. Human nature can have all these negative attributes, and we do our best to be good citizens and not allow those attributes to take over who we are. And yet, invariably, in politics, it's always the egoist, the narcissist, that rise to the top. The worst of the worst. They'll say anything, they'll do anything. They like the feeling of being special, and so they'll do anything they have to do to climb to the top. The problem is once they have the power of government, they then use it in very unsatisfactory and unsavory ways. Every atrocity committed that you talk about and that we talk about was caused by too much government, not too little government. Jim Crow. There's too much government. You can't use government to force people apart. You can't use government to say who can stay here and who can stay there. You can't use government to allocate resources based on an immutable trait like race. That was too much government.
Amen.
The Trail of Tears. Cherokee. There's too much government, not too little. Tuskegee. Experiments. That was too much government, not too little. Korematsu and the internment of Japanese prisoners in World War II, that was too much government, not too little. Every time civil rights have been destroyed, it's by government.
Yes.
And it's the government that you all empower. You give it power in every way possible, and you think it won't be destructive. It will always be destructive because human nature is destructive. The only way to make sure that bad men can't get control of powerful government is to not have powerful government.
Amen.
Why is this so complicated? You bitch and complain about Donald Trump, and you say he's doing too much. You gave the presidency that power. He didn't. You gave the federal government that power. He didn't. You grew it tremendously from 1934 all the way to this present moment, and now you're mad you don't control it. What would you think was going to happen? You people are crazy. You can't give power to government and then think it's not going to be abused. And yet every chance you get, the government can fix it.
Yeah.
We'll just give it more money, more power. Bernie Sanders might be the dumbest human being besides AOC on the planet. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why he is. The things that he says. What's he say? Income disparity is a problem. Okay. All right. Maybe. I'm listening. We have poverty in the inner cities. Okay. I'm listening. And then he says, and the problem we've got is that government is corrupt. Okay, I'm listening.
I'm right there with you.
Listening. Government is corrupt. And then he says, and the corporations control the government, and they're corrupt. Okay, yeah, I'm with you. Mm-hmm. And what's the solution? Give the government more power.
Yeah. Because that's worked out so well in the past. That's
a solution. That's a solution. He points out all these ways they failed, and he goes, and our answer is to empower it more. Well, who do you think controls the government? If not the corporate, corrupt fat cats you claim you don't like. You're literally handing them the apparatus by which they can control the rest of us, claiming you're fighting for us as individuals. It makes no sense whatsoever. But that's modern Democrat policies. That's the way they see the world. It's us versus them. It's division, right? It's the old Marxist creed. The one is that you got to create divisions and create turmoil. Can't have unity. All we're suggesting is a world without so much government control. Why is that so bad? Here's the second thing I'm suggesting. Instead of fighting over Washington, D.C. and giving it so much federal authority, bring it back to the states. All right, we've talked about this a million times. California, you're a bunch of wacky birds. I get that. You do you. Mississippi, we'll do us. Respect those differences of the states, right? Why not? Am I missing something?
I don't think so.
It's called federalism. It's the point of our Constitution. It's the way it was designed. I got to move on. I'm going to say something that's going to be incredibly offensive. Should I do it? I can't do it.
I trust your judgment,
well,
but now I want to hear it.
This will be our last show. Now, look, it's just not complicated. I'm tired of liberals making fun of Mississippi when it's the same big government garbage that's kept us down that they propose now to continue keeping us all down.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Anyway, how close are we to a break?
A couple of minutes, I think.
This is probably a good time to stop because when we come back, we've got to talk about Sydney Sweeney for a moment.
Oh, so we're back on that one.
Only because I found some polling data.
Really?
And I also, it's pretty cool. And I also found some interesting tidbits on how politicians are, believe it or not, taking advantage of us all.
No, you don't say.
All right. When we get back from this commercial, we'll get after it.
Resort.
Welcome back to Chris McDaniel's America. We had a good first 30 minutes. I think I may have blacked out there at some point. I'm back. I see there's comments being made on the feed, and I enjoy those comments, by the way, so keep those up. Jack, let's transition real quick because last week it seemed the entire country was talking about a Gene commercial.
Yeah.
It's weird because that's not what the data shows. I don't know what's going on to our nation. Yes, I do. It's social media. Mm-hmm. The whole world has gone crazy, and when stories like this break, we all get supercharged, and we think that everybody else is supercharged as well.
Yeah.
Turns out that's really not the case. It's almost like the liberals now. You ever heard of the expression "tail wagging the dog"?
Yeah.
You know, and then 10% of the population calls her a Nazi, and so the rest of us have to chime in on it, but the reality is it was that same stupid 10% that shouldn't have said those things in the first place, right? Mm-hmm. All right, here's what happened in a nutshell if you've been living under a rock. Sydney Sweeney is an actress, model, whatever the heck, and she did a Gene commercial. In the Gene commercial, there was some narrative, and she compared the word jeans, Jeans, to the word jeans, Genes. I thought it was clever. I saw no issues there whatsoever. And by the way, they did polling. Nobody really saw an issue with it, with the exception. Get this. So ask yourself, of the people who saw it, and by the way, only about 40% of the country even knows what we're talking about right now. Do you know that?
That doesn't shock. Well, maybe it does because it's so unimportant. I am shocked it's that low.
Well, that's what the polling shows. Polling shows only about 40% have any idea of who Sydney Sweeney is or even what we're all talking about. So basically, we're just wasting our air right now. Yeah. But of that 40% that were paying attention, 70% thought the Gene's ad was just okay. And so now there's a percentage that was like, I don't care one way or the other. And then there's that leftist side. So 12% of the 40% who actually watched it, which is a fraction of Americans. Think about it. A fraction of the American population thought it promoted Nazism. 12%. I don't know about you, but I don't care what 10% of the people think when it's only a fraction of 40%. What's the math on that, somebody? We've got to have a mathematician in here. 40% saw it, only 12% of them thought it was problematic. Is that like 4% of total Americans?
I'm not a math guy. But we'll say yes.
You're fired. You had one job.
You knew beforehand I'm not the math guy.
You had one job. Anyway. No, the point is that nobody cared. And I thought it was interesting because of all that explosion of anger and angst and finger pointing. It was literally just a fragment of a percentage that found it offensive. But who are they? You know who they are? That's the modern Democrat base.
Fair.
I mean, it is. Let's not kid ourselves. That loud, purple-haired group, that got me in trouble too, by the way. I said something about purple-haired people being mad, And I got cussed out a few times. I'm sorry. I'm not making fun of your hair. It's just people with purple hair share, it seems, a propensity to believe in socialism. Am I wrong about that?
I think we actually gave purple-haired people complaining a thumbs down in the leader call recently.
Wasn't there a song in the 50s about a one-eyed something flying purple people eater?
I do remember that song.
The fact that popped up shows there are more problems in the studio than we. No, but all I said was that purple hair people were disproportionately usually complaining.
Mm-hmm.
And do your hair as you wish. I don't care. I'm just saying that it seems weird that when you do that and you have piercings coming out of every part of your body, that you think Sydney Sweeney is abnormal and you're normal. Did I miss the memo?
No, I mean, well, probably because, only 12% of 40% got it.
Anyway, enough of that. I just thought it was interesting that really, as a whole, it was just a very loud group of people that changed the whole dynamic of the week's press story. I mean, consider that for a second. This is a small number of people.
Yeah.
And if they can do it on this issue, that might be why they're doing it on all these issues.
Yeah.
And if it really is that small number of people, why do we care?
We shouldn't.
We shouldn't. I mean, when they're talking about all this lunacy, we should probably just ignore it. The problem is the modern Democratic Party embraces it and uses it as a bullhorn.
They use it as a bullhorn. The media loves it to try to sensationalize it and blow it out of proportion because for whatever reason, I guess the bulk of their ratings comes from that 12% or 40% you talked about.
I don't know. Hey, a couple of more things real quick on politicians as a whole. Some personal anecdotes here for you all out there because I know these people. I've been around them. I've served with them. And politicians are really, 90% of politicians are really pitiful people. You say, what does that mean? How can they be so pitiful? Well, these are people that, frankly, could not and have not been able to operate in the free market with any degree of success. You know who I'm talking about.
I do.
They've got good handshakes. They got a good smile. Maybe. Sometimes they don't. But they have some degree of funding that comes from donors. But they themselves, when it comes to the ability to make a difference in the free market, they failed more than they've succeeded. And so that's why lobbyists have this disproportionate amount of power in the capitals. And here's why. Look at me, Jack. Focus for a second. Here's why. Lobbyists can afford things the losers can't. When I say losers, I mean politicians.
Yeah.
And so a politician, he needs a nice steak meal. Instead of just paying for it, a lobbyist pays for it.
Yep.
He likes that. It makes him feel special. He couldn't afford it. He wasn't successful in the free market. He can't afford to buy his own dinner. But the lobbyist can, and so he likes that. Wine. Some of the nicest bottles of wine you'll ever see pop out on politicians' tables. When the best wine they've had is Boone's or Ripple up until that point. You've had Boone's Wild Farms, whatever it is.
Unfortunately, yes, I have.
So you're talking about men and women that basically have survived on Boone's until they get elected. Then it's, Camus. It happens. It happens overnight. But they need the lobbyist. And this is why there's this weird synergistic parasite type effect that occurs, right? They're draining off each other. The lobbyist needs a vote. The politician needs his bills paid, right? And so we get into this system, and this opens up the next line of stories here about politicians using their power, not just to get free meals, but to get free everything. One of the biggest abuses I always saw were junkets. Do you know what a junket? What's a junket? You know what a junket is?
Like a press junket?
Well, no. It's like maybe I'm using the word politically. It's like a free trip somewhere.
Oh.
And I get to claim that I was, studying the green toad frog of in southern Hawaii, or whatever the case may be, for environmental purposes, of course, right?
Yeah.
And you see these politicians take these trips paid for by lobbyists and sometimes by their own campaign finance funds. And they take these trips, which are always really nice locations. No politician ever takes a trip to El Paso to study anything.
No.
Right? It's always Paris.
Yeah.
And we're going to study the climate accords. No, you're not. You're going on vacation, and the taxpayers are paying for it. And so I've seen this double standard my entire life. First of all, these politicians, most of them, they can't pay their bills. They're broke. They need lobbyists. But they also get to take really cool trips. Mm-hmm. And they tell you with a straight face that these trips are needed.
We're going to make significant studies to help you
in Paris,
in Dubai. we're going to check on oil supplies in Dubai.
We're going to study the issue. Now, here's the thing: if you look at that at face value, it's laughable because every part of the world's knowledge is right here in front of me on the interweb, as they call it, right? The internet. It's right here staring at me. If I want to study oil supplies, I don't have to fly to Dubai. I can research it, right? Yeah. And guess what? If I want to talk to someone, we have this magnificent thing called Zoom now, right?
Yeah, you do.
So I can talk to somebody in Dubai without having to fly to Dubai. Mm-hmm. But they don't want to do that. They need that trip. Oh, guess what else happens on those trips? They get nice meals on those trips, right? They used to fly some of our members to Turkey. Turkey. I'm not sure what Mississippi's interest was in Turkey. Still
Wild
not
turkey?
Sure. I'm talking the country, not the drink.
Darn, you had my interest for a second.
So the point I'm making is politicians always find a way to abuse us and then make us believe they're doing it for us. And nothing could be further from the truth. I say all that attacking people I know to people I don't know, like this McDaniel's up in New York. Now, you know this guy. He's 30-something years old. He is a self-avowed socialist, communist.
He's insane.
Well, here's the thing. He's far left, as far left as you can go, and right now he's ahead in the polling to be mayor of New York.
Yeah.
This is why this is important. This man has called on multiple occasions for the defunding of the police. Guess what he just did? He hired a private security firm to take care of him. You see how they work? And that's not just politicians. That's leftists as a whole. That's why socialism never seems to work, because there's always going to be two classifications. Always two classifications. Him, running for office, privileged, let's defund the police. Meanwhile, crime waves break out all over the city, but he has the money now because he's running to hire personal security detail. You see the problem with that? Mm-hmm. It's disgusting. But that's not just Democrats. Conservatives do it as well.
Absolutely.
I'm really sick of hearing about politicians complaining about their threats to their health. They're all begging now for private security or government paid for security. Here's an idea. If you're afraid, go home.
Yeah.
Give up your seat. We shouldn't have to pay for any more perks for you. If you really are fearful of somebody doing something to you, nobody made you run for Congress.
Did not.
Go home or learn to fight. There's a gym next door. Get strong, right? Do something. But we shouldn't have to pay for more and more perks because of your insecurities. And that's exactly what's happening here with McDaniel. But it's not just McDaniel. A story that McCarthy, remember him, Speaker or former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, he was interviewed this week on Fox News. He had a story about a Texas representative that's been banned from an airline, right? And everybody was like, who could that possibly be? It was a Democrat by the name of Sheila Jackson Lee. You remember her, don't you?
I do remember her.
All right, now get this. This is the point I've got with these politicians. So this clown of a lady, she decides to leave the plane to make a call. Now, the plane is ready to go. There are 150 other people on that plane ready to go. The pilot is ready to go. The schedule is ready to go. She leaves the plane to make an extra call. They close the door on her like they should have. And she gets all self-entitled, starts banging. Well, apparently she had left her purse on the airplane. So the pilot, my new favorite person, takes the purse and just drops it out of the airplane window and leaves her. And she clowned. It was all her fault. But she thought she was privileged. You see the problem with politicians?
Yeah.
They think they're above us. They think they're privileged. That whole flight, that whole airline was supposed to stop what it was doing.
Yeah.
Because she happened to be a congressperson, whatever the heck that is. What was she going to do? Point is, it was the sense of entitlement that got everybody so fired up. Turns out now she's been banned by the airline.
Good.
It's good stuff. One more twisted politician story, then I'm going to move on. I'm sorry about all this. I just don't like politicians. Attorney General Andrea Campbell, Massachusetts. Now, she's the Attorney General of Massachusetts. Massachusetts is roughly the size of this room we're in right now.
This room might be a little bigger.
Might be a little larger than Massachusetts. So she's the AG, and it turns out she had a state-issued credit card. Well, of course she did. What did I tell you earlier? They can't pay their own bills.
Yeah.
I've told you this about these people. If she were a successful lawyer making $1 million a year, she wouldn't run for AG, right? So she runs, she can't pay her bills. They give her a state-sponsored credit card. Big mistake. Don't give these people credit cards. You know what they're going to do with it. Well, let's see what she did with it. Here's an idea. $14,000 for a Paris trip to commemorate D-Day. Now, I'm not against commemorating D-Day, but you can do that on your own dime, can't you?
I would think so.
And why do you have to fly to Paris to commemorate D-Day?
Yeah.
Paris.
Yeah.
D-Day. So
Yeah,
she
it doesn't
spends
make sense.
$13,627 to go to Paris to commemorate D-Day. Get this, $9,000 of it, a chauffeur service.
Oh, well, I mean, she can't be expected to drive herself, Chris. Come on.
It's called
like a commoner.
It's called Hertz or Enterprise. You rent the car and you drive to where you're going to go. No, $9,000. Where did they? Was that a European worldwide trip? $9,000 for a chauffeur?
Well, she needed needed like a fast car, like a sports car, like a, and not just maybe a Lamborghini. I mean, that didn't seem too out there for you. I mean, why not?
And it gets better. So then later, she then goes to the Fairfield Inn in Boston. Of course she did. She was going to a national cyber crime conference. Now, Boston's in Massachusetts, a state the size of a shoebox.
Yeah.
Why was she spending $10,000 at the Fairfield Inn in Boston?
Because it wasn't her money.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yep.
Lord only knows what that purchased, right? I guarantee you it was the one right next to Copley Square. If you know much about Boston, there's an old historical spot called Copley Square. I bet you it sits right there. That's a pretty nice place.
It
and
is.
I bet you she had the time of her life. You know why she had the time of her life? Because she didn't have to pay for anything. These are the politicians in this country. Here's another one. $1,200. Now remember, this is in Boston. She's there in Boston. $1,200 to honor state police. Here's $1,200 for a cater and a holiday party. And then she spent money at Disney World. Now, was there some sort of crime conference that Mickey was holding that she needed to be there that severely, that she had to spend several $1,000s of her state's money to go to Disney World? Or was she just playing?
I mean, it's wide known that there's an epidemic of crime at Disney World. So she was there to help perform a study, I'm sure.
So let me see here. It gets worse. It's not just the politicians. It's the union bosses. I thought I was going to leave this person out, right? The union bosses. Now, they act like politicians.
They do.
You know what I'm saying?
In many ways, they are politicians.
They are. Well, here's one, and she represents the teachers' union, pro-Democrat teachers' union. Randy Weingarten is her name. It turns out that her union is the American Federation of Teachers. She spent more than $100,000 on limousine services between September of 23 and now.
Wow.
Why does she need a limousine?
Thank you.
Get this girl a Kia. Let's get where we need to be. Am I missing something about these people?
There's no reason she can't get to and from in a Ford Escort. Come on, just
It gets better. And that doesn't count the other times she spent money on private drivers. So she had the limousine service that was separate and apart. And then she also spent money on private drivers. Despite the fact that they pay her $500,000 a year almost.
Wow. To really just abuse money anyway. So
can't make this up. So the reason I go into all this is that I don't know why we put up with it. Congress people, those Congress critters, they make 175, I don't know, something like that. It give themselves pay raises every year and per diems and all this junk. $170,000 a year, and they complain they're not making enough. But again, nobody made you run for Congress. Yeah. So what do? These losers in the private sector? They then decide, how can I benefit myself through government work? I'm not saying this happened. I'm just suggesting that there's a handful of people, even in Mississippi, that went into office relatively penniless and are now leaving office as millionaires.
Yep.
That ain't supposed to happen.
No. Our founding fathers went into office with money and left in debt because, again, they weren't up there to bleed the system dry. They were there to help formulate our country, formulate a government that they wanted to be limited in scope, that we've grown way out of control.
Professional politicians are killing this country. Mm-hmm. And the idea that we'd allowed a group of people to be professional politicians is disgusting.
Amen.
And I'm going to tell you something. If you can't get up there and work it part-time and still get back home and take care of things, you have no business serving whatsoever. They've made this a job, a full-time job, and they're raping the taxpayers. They're destroying this country. And people need to say this just to point out the absurdities of it all. They're living like they're Thurston Howell III, but they're really Gilligan. Right?
It's fair.
And that's a problem. It's a problem when they're doing that. And people wonder why we get so fired up. Speaking of fired up, has anybody seen Gavin Newsom lately?
You know, he's not been as visible.
Oh, well, he's probably doing his hair.
That's fair.
Probably doing his hair. Let me tell you what he has been doing. So remember, Gavin Newsom, a relatively insignificant politician there in California, the governor, decides he wants to be president. Mm-hmm. And now he's doing his best to find a way, if there's a path, to run for president. Well, good luck with that for a lot of different reasons. The first of which I thought was interesting is that Gavin Newsom has now finally determined that men exist. I thought that was interesting. Well, now hear me out here for a second, because Gavin Newsom in California have spent the last, I don't know how many years, basically emasculating, making fun of, doing everything in their power to define masculinity as toxic.
Yeah.
Right? And what that does, at least in my mind, if you've noticed, that Trump picked up some numbers among young men. Democrats used to have a little bit of I wouldn't say a stranglehold, but they had more representation among young men than they do now. And the question's been asked politically, where are these young men going? Well, they're heading toward Trump because they're sick of being made fun of. They're sick of everything they do being judged. They're sick of being people that are born to be explorers and warriors and frontiersmen and being told to sit down and shut up. You have no place in this new modern world. There's nothing wrong with being a man. There's nothing wrong with being masculine. We should encourage masculinity. My boys, we box, we fight, we wrestle, we yell, we scream, we spit, we shoot. We're men. That's the way it's supposed to be. Now, that doesn't mean you discount or discredit others. It doesn't mean you're rude or crude or unkind. You're a man. California took it a whole different direction. And yet now this week, because he's trying to pull some of those young men back into the Democrat camp, he's decided to issue an executive order. And guess what? The order is targeting male suicide and isolation. So one day, Gavin Newsom is celebrating biological males shattering girls' sports records. And the next day, he's wringing his manicured hands over men suffering in silence. Mm-hmm. You see, there's a transition happening. The Democrats now want to appear macho. They're trying to be tough. Mm-hmm. And you're going to see some candidates pop up on the horizon. I saw one the other day, Black Hawk helicopter pilot running as a Democrat candidate. Not taking anything away from your service, but that doesn't make you qualified to be a congressperson, right? Mm-hmm. But that's where they're heading, and that's what he's doing here. So California, all these years, masculinity is toxic. Men are dangerous. We need to be out of the boardrooms. We need to be out of the classrooms. Now he's trying to win those votes back with an executive order, trying to be a tough guy all of a sudden. Here's the sad reality, though. I mean, men do, and he pointed this out, and this is the thing that's sad. Men commit suicide at 4 times the rate of women. Men right now drowning and depression, addiction, have no purpose. Right now, college campuses have inverted. About 60% are female, 40% male, and that's dropping. Young males now living in their parents' basements. They're lost in video games. They're lost in pornography, while their female peers are building businesses and getting degrees. Something's happening here. And what's happening here, we've been redefined. We've been told that we don't count anymore. We've been told that our ways don't matter anymore. And that was done by his party, not ours.
Yep.
That was done by people like Gavin Newsom, not people like Donald Trump. And so it's disgusting to me. After literally attacking masculinity for the last 15 years, he now wants to embrace it with all his slickness. I hope people don't fall for that. They've got better sense than to fall for that. I'm tired of the masculine destruction of this country, cultural, educationally, politically, and California has led the charge.
And Gavin Newsom played a big role on it before. You know, it's a typical story of somebody that was for it before they became against it type deal. And that's what he's trying to do. And he's hoping that voters have a short-term memory.
You know, people,
I don't think they will, though.
Well, you know how it is. I mean, it just depends on how the economy is flowing.
That's fair.
I mean, if you'll be surprised. Here's what I do know is that men and women, you know, despite trying to erase the differences of the two, there are very complex biological, physiological, and psychological differences between the sexes. Mm-hmm. People say those are social constructs. They certainly are not social constructs. Some of which could be, I don't dispute, but most of which are there for a reason. And society needs strong women, but it needs strong men. It needs balance, just like a child needs balance. Nobody's suggesting a female can't raise a child. Nobody's suggesting a male can't raise a child. But I think it's better to raise that child together than apart. Is that sinful? I mean, have I gone too far by suggesting perhaps children need both a mom and a dad?
No, that's common sense in my mind.
And the reason you need a mom and a dad because they do bring different life experiences to the table. Mm-hmm. You know, dads can provide security. I'm not saying moms can't. I'm saying that dads can. Moms can provide love. I'm not saying that dads can't provide love. I'm saying that moms can, and they do it exceptionally well together. But I don't know why the liberals insist on conflating not just biology, but this gender nonsense. And it seems to be almost like there's a crisis afoot, like there's a real plan to disembowel anything masculine in this society. And I'm glad that people are finally seeing through these games. Because the Democrats now are going to be tough over the next 4 years. They're going to have ads with guns, right? And they're going to ride horses, and they're going to have, you know, they even smoke a cigarette. You never know. There's going to be some destructive behavior that's tied into masculinity, whereby they try to win back men that Trump took from them. Yeah. And the reason Trump took it is because Trump, despite all the things you may hate about him, at least comes across as being assertive and aggressive and controlling.
Yeah, and tough.
Yeah. What's wrong with that?
Nothing. I think you touched on it right there, and I think we've talked about it before. Trump's rise in popularity that allowed him to be elected to the White House in the first place came out of a sense of frustration that a lot of males got upset because we're constantly being told it's not okay to act like a traditional male. It's not okay to do this. It's a lot of this whole PC crowd. And, well, Trump turned his nose up at it. That rose his popularity. And now I guess Democrats think that they're going to try to tap into that themselves after they were the ones that pushed every negative thing, everything that made males feel like it's not okay to be masculine. Now they want to try to wrap themselves up in it. I just don't see it working for them.
Well, there's not a thing in the world wrong with masculinity, and we should say so and say it out loud. How much time do we have left?
Getting close.
5 minutes? That's just enough time to say something incredibly offensive.
Oh, let's go for it.
No, I'm going to change gears just for a second because I found something else that's concerning. We talk about masculinity. And I found 2 new studies that are demonstrating that for whatever reason, children, aren't being exposed to nature any longer. And I think that's troubling.
It is.
I think it's troubling. I always try to encourage my boys to get outside. And look, I get that video games are fun, and I get that dadgum iPhone streaming those reels are fun, but sometimes you got to put that thing down. You got to get outside. And it turns out, though, that's not happening. The kids are becoming more and more entrenched in the phones, and because of that, it's changing the way the kids see themselves and see society. And this study is really interesting. Now listen to this. The word is conscientiousness, right? The ability to understand and be aware. It basically boils down to responsibility, self-control, and follow-through. We've done a study now among ages 16 to 39. And do you know those traits have dropped to the lower 30th percentile as compared to older users that don't use phones quite as much. And what this author is proposing in the study, he's saying that there's been a transformation of the way these kids see the world because they can't focus or won't focus. He says it's the biggest revolution we've ever seen in thought and technology. And he says it's going to destroy a bunch of young people. I don't know that yet, but I see warning signs. Here's the comparison he made. In the 15th century, the printing press was developed, and it took literally hundreds of years, when hundreds of different editions of books, for knowledge to spread to the corners of the globe. It took a long time. It's taking almost no time now for these significant transformational changes to occur. Now, if we have gotten to the point where we can't focus, and we believe that, or we can't even rationalize because we can't think long enough to rationalize, where does that put us in terms of politics, right? Now, you say, what does that mean? The one thing I always took some great pride in is being an individual. Conservatism does that. In other words, we're not easily led. We're not easily manipulated. We're able to look at things, analyze them, and come to our own conclusions based on objective data. But the more distracted we are, the more easy it is for us to be led. And so these kids, they come about, 18 to 39 right now, and they simply are not experiencing the drive that older kids are experiencing, or adults are experiencing. And scientists are calling this the zombification of human attention, the inability to have deep focus or to have this ability to basically be sensitive to things around you. What happens there? I mean, I realize that can change the fact whether or not folks answer the phone. It can change whether or not you make plans in the evening, whether or not you cancel plans in the evening. So there are cultural things that occur, but does it open us up to be controlled by powerful governments, political leaders that can take advantage of our distraction? That's the concern. So this scientist is onto something for different reasons. He's more concerned about what does it do to people. I'm more concerned about what politicians can do to people as a result of the change. And what I don't want to see is an America that's so easily led that it loses critical thinking skills. It's hard to have critical thinking skills if you're not focused. Our kids aren't focused. My sons aren't focused the way they should be. They spend a lot of time outside. The point is, this could be a new cultural issue that we have to address, and it could impact politics for the next 100 years.
Absolutely, because if they're not focused on anything, then how are they going to be focused on issues that matter? So, I mean, yeah, this is concerning.
You know, something else he saw too, and this makes a lot of sense to me. He indicated that when we're on social media so much, that the clicks that we give things are almost always based on the biggest self-promoters, the biggest liars, the biggest conspiracy thinkers. They get the most clicks. So we've created a system whereby clicks of relevant, normalized ideas are diminished or ignored, but clicks to the lunatics out there, they have a disproportionate amount of influential power now. There are some people on Twitter, I don't even know who they are, but they got 6 million followers. And I said, well, let's see what they're talking about. And it's mind-boggling lunatics is what they are. They're lunatics. It's every conspiracy thing that they think of. It's anything to get clicks. And the crazier they say it, the more clicks they get. Where does that take us? Because what these kids do, they keep trying to out-shock each other. Have you noticed that?
Oh, absolutely.
So if he says something kind of bad, I want to say something really bad or obnoxious. Where does that end in society? Can we completely outshock each other for the next 10 years? Or do we reach a limit whereby we can't be shocked anymore?
I think we're getting close to the limit, actually.
I tell you, online is weird. And don't get me wrong, I love computers. I love to be online. I fall to the same patterns that others do when it comes to watching those reels. And I have laughed for hours at a time watching cat videos or dog videos. It makes no sense. I should be more productive. But there's something about the videos that are hilarious. And I think that's what's happening. It just pulls us in. We lose the ability to focus, to be discerning. And so society crumbles just a little bit more. All right, look, this has been a good show. I told you when we started this show it was going to be eclectic and different. And I think it has been, but I hope you enjoyed it. Jack, you have a good day?
It's been a fun show, Chris, and I definitely always love the fact when I get to sit over here and not in your chair. So definitely happy that the workload has allowed you to be here for a couple of weeks in a row now.
It's good to be back. It's good to be back. I appreciate it. All right, guys. Again, thank you for being a part of this. This has been Chris McDaniel's America on the Midnight Ride Network, your home of the anti-establishment movement in this country. We'll see you next time.
Looks like you've been sleeping well.
Megan, he's back. The My Pillow guy.
And you're looking good.
Still feeling good.
Well, just when you thought it couldn't get any better, we've got the best pillow ever, My Pillow 2.0.
Wow, it's so soft and smooth.
It's cool to the touch. How did you do that?
Well, we took My Pillow's patented fill and combined it with this new technology that we didn't have back then when I invented My Pillow to bring you the best pillow in history, My Pillow 2.0. Just like all of you, I never imagined that My Pillow could get any better. That's why I haven't changed it in nearly 20 years. Then I heard about a revolutionary new technology, and I knew I had to bring it to you all. My Pillow 2.0 is truly the next generation of My Pillow.
The My Pillow 2.0 is cooler and softer than the last My Pillow. It is so comfortable to sleep on at night. I look forward to going to bed, and I wake up well rested in the morning.
Sleep is all about temperature and height. My Pillow 2.0's patented adjustable fill is going to give you the exact individual support you need from your head to your bed. And now here's where it gets even better. We've all experienced those temperature-related sleep interruptions where you get too hot, you toss and turn, you flip your pillow over to the cool side. Well, all that's gone with my brand new My Pillow 2.0 cooling fabric that's made with temperature-regulating thread.
The best sleep just got even better. Whether you have a MyPillow or not, you need to get the brand new MyPillow 2.0. Call or go to MyPillow.com now. Use your promo code, and for a limited time when you buy one, you'll get a second one absolutely free.
You're sleeping even better.
And cooler, too.
And you're looking good.
Feeling good.
I knew you would.
Visit MyPillow.com.